75% of the ARV. One of the critical things is the ARV of 75% is real. My appraiser will come in at the value. We all have access to values. If you're an investor, you should have access to either a title company or wherever it is you're going to do your research for your values. So it's not a secret what the property should be worth. If you're not evaluating it, that's a different story. So again, what's critical is if the value is there, we're going to go at 75%. I do not tell my appraiser to cut the value. If that's the value at the market, that's what it's going to be. Other times too, I've had my appraiser actually give suggestions to my investors. One deal in Pasadena, it was a single family house. They had no garage, so my investor was going to put a 2-car garage. And my appraiser said, you know what, you should tell your investor, the zoning permits, why don't you build a 4-car garage and add a unit on top? So even though the construction may be another $60,000, it still brings a higher value. And guess what? I'm able to fund the rehab. So it's not even where they had to come out of more money out of the pocket. So my appraiser's looking for different things to even help the investor. We can also add construction. So we could go up to 500 square feet to add on to a rehab. Let's say there's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house, maybe 800 square feet. It's kind of small. Most homeowners want to have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Add another 500, which would give a master bedroom, 1-bath addition to the house. Increase the value, and we're going to fund it. So again, some investors are afraid to say, well, that's going to be out of my budget. That's another $70,000. Well, your ARV is going to be there for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We're going to fund an additional $70,000. So even as an investor, you don't have an issue that you don't have enough capital to do that bedroom and bath addition.
What if you're adding another unit to like an R3 property and it's all new construction?
That's okay as well. I have a different source for that, but I got another investor who basically does that. He keeps a front house, he'll add a unit or 2 units to the rear and build up new construction. But in the meantime, he'll rehab the front house. So again, we just do the valuation for the new construction and place it. And new construction, completely. Like I have another client who's doing a 10-unit apartment building in Los Angeles, ground up. So as we mentioned, minimal rehab, we've done 15,000 to 500,000, which is very large. Again, some lenders don't do that large of rehab. They may only do 20, 30,000, 50,000. But one of our projects we had in Eagle Rock near Pasadena was an actual rehab of $425,000. And to give you a very good example, our competitive lenders, one came out in an ARV of 1.1, 1.2. My appraiser came in at 1.4. So there's a substantial difference, and that enabled me to fund the entire $425,000 rehab budget. So when you're really comparing things, that's the difference between somebody saying they can do something and performing because you have the appraisal with. Another way is doing a conversion from SFR to duplex. Sometimes there's the zoning permits where, again, you don't even have to go outside the box, or you can add a little bit and convert a single family to a duplex just based on the zoning. Also, the other one mentioned is the master bedroom bath addition. Or I used to do before is get out the interior layout and reconfigure. So sometimes, like say in Pasadena, you may have an 1,800 square foot house, maybe it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, and just reconfiguring the layout, you can make it a 3-bedroom, 2-bath without even doing an addition on the outside of the square footage, and just reconfiguring that to a larger ARV. Even though you haven't added square footage, you've still created a higher value because now it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath versus a 2-bedroom, 1-bath within the same square footage.
And the person has to have the permits for that.
Yes, they'll have to get permits for it, but it's not very difficult. You can pretty much over the counter or maybe within 2 weeks. So I'm just trying to give you ideas to be more creative than just the standard fix and flip and cosmetic things. Here's a couple of examples of, these are escrow statements, they're called HUD statements. And basically, these are the kind of transactions we can show. This one here was in Pasadena, and actually this is the one that was bought for $540,000. This is the one that they didn't have a garage, so our original rehab budget was like $80,000. And after we decided that they could do an additional unit, it raised our rehab back here, it's hold back $282,000. And with that, we were able to increase the value. The ARV came out to $1,090,000, almost 1.1, and this was purchased at $540,000. This is one in Halldale. This is in Los Angeles. This was a bank REO. This was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house on the corner. They did a bedroom bath addition. The rehab was $83,000, and the ARV came out to $470,000. These are all statements from escrow companies that I don't even have a relationship with. These are escrows that the buyer uses when they're acquiring properties. The seller chooses their escrows. Here's another in the city of Alhambra. This was acquired for $480,000. Rehab on this one was $100,000 because again, they did a bedroom bath addition. It was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath originally. And that ARV came out of $750,000. This is one in La Mirada. This was a short sale. This purchase price was about $620,000. They actually did, not a second story, but they actually did an addition in the rear. And this was, I think, originally like a 3-bedroom. This was an example they reconfigured it because the second floor kind of had an open area. So they actually expanded the second story, made this a 7-bedroom, 4-bath, I think with a gym and a theater room. So that one was $620,000 short sale, and the rehab was $180,000, and the ARV came out at 1.160. The example of this was they had about 3 of the lenders that they were trying to do the loan with before they came to me, and my competitors were at, I think it was 850, one was at 950, and the other was shorter than their million, and mine came out at 1.160. So again, the substantial difference was based on my appraiser doing the value, spending the time to come up with the right ARV, so that I was able to fund the entire $180,000. This is another one on Mount Helena. This originally was an 800 square foot house. The owner prior to that had plans already approved for the city of Los Angeles to convert this and actually add about 1,700 square feet to an 800 square foot house. The purchase price was $585. Our rehab budget here, she's under $424,000 short a few dollars of almost $450,000. I kind of like, I don't mind asking Linda, have you seen that size of rehab project? You know.
That's pretty big for like the size of the house, yeah.
So the idea of me showing you this is that we're not limited to the type of rehabs that we do. Other lenders will, do the small 40, 50,000, but these are based on the ability to have our appraiser come in at the value and show our investors that we can fund the entire rehab project. So one thing is talking about it and giving you a flyer, what we can do, and the other one is really performing. And again, these are all escrow statements that are not connected with me, reflecting the fact that we've funded these deals and can show proof to our investors or yourselves that these transactions do occur. This isn't something 2-3 years ago. These are all recent transactions within the last 6 months.
Question?
Yes?
How can a person use your company to buy like foreclosures from the courthouse? Like, is there a way to work together?
No, that's not, no, because you gotta own the property or be an escrow, and the foreclosures, you gotta show cashier's checks right then and there to close. So it's not really possible there. Here's another transaction. This was in Northridge, purchase of $560,000. The rehab on this one, I think, was about $80,000, and the ARV came out to $640,000. Another transaction in Northridge. This is on Gerald, San Fernando Valley. This was a $510,000 rehab. I'm sorry, $510,000 purchase. The rehab on this one, I think, was about $60,000, and that had an ARV of $700,000. This one just closed in June 26th. This was actually, these 2 or 3 properties were actually with a father and son investor that have purchased well over about 100 flips. And they're actually both real estate agents. So I like dealing with experienced investors because they understand the program. But obviously they saw the benefit of what we offer versus the limit they were using at that time. So we were able to take that business from them. Yes?
He asked a question regarding foreclosures, and I'm very interested in with that because I find a lot of them. With the foreclosure, if you assume the note before it goes to trustee sale, you work out something with the seller and you assume their original note and you catch them up and now the property's in your name, then would you be able to do a rehab on it, get funds to be able to rehab it, and eventually sell it on your own?
So there's a couple ways of that, and I'm not trying to take you off track of that. I'll negotiate the deal myself to foreclosures. Most of the time, the owners are not going to receive anything, right? Cash for keys, so whatever you may give them. At that point, really what you can do is just go into a normal sale transaction, because that way I'll fund you the rehab at that time. So there's no benefit to close it and then come to me later on. It's better to come to me while you're in escrow, and I'll give you your purchase funds. Seller doesn't have to be concerned about it. Seller has no idea what you're doing. So that escrow is not going to be aware of it, other than they're going to receive instructions from me to record that deed of trust, and they're gonna hold the funds and transfer it to my trust account. So that's an easy way of simplifying
So
it.
it did actually before it's transferred,
Right.
like in the county. Okay.
And that'll be 15% down payment.
Okay, perfect.
So we don't get the foreclosures, you know, whatever, REOs, whatever it may be, but yeah, there's a lot more foreclosures coming up because now the modifications that have been around for 5 years are now expiring, so
Mhm.
some of the people haven't been able to keep those payments up.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Here's another one in Northridge, this is recent also, this is rehab, purchase was $738,000, and the rehab budget on this one was $150,000. This is just June 26th, and the ARV on that one was $1 million. So, really important again, and not to overemphasize the issue of the appraisals, I never tell my appraiser to do anything illegal or improper, okay, that's very clear, but he's going to extract the right information to give us the highest value that you and I know, if you're an investor, need to get that transaction closed. Again, my competitors have always been cutting the values down, and that's where a lot of investors complain about it, because they know it's worth a certain value, and they come in still lower to get more cash. So my appraisers out of Orange County, you notice this is the same appraiser on all the transactions we have. And we've gone from Compton to 84th Street in LA, we've gone to Santa Ana, to Tustin, to Northridge. So it doesn't matter what area it is, all these transactions have closed at the same program I've mentioned. 15% down, 85% of the rehab. And so I just share that because there's no discrimination whether it's South LA or Watts or Compton as it is to the Valley or Orange County. It's the same program. And more importantly, it's the same interest rates and the same terms. Oftentimes lenders will say, well, there's more risk in Compton, so I'm going to charge you, 12%. And I'm going to double the points because it's riskier for me if I have to take back the property to recover my capital in Compton. Versus, I have a better deal in Tustin. So I'm not afraid of that because I've dealt with properties in Compton or LA or wherever it may be, so I'm not concerned about the risk. In fact, there's more bread and butter in Compton and LA than there is sometimes in other cities. So it doesn't matter to me what areas or what counties it is. And the important thing as an investor, I don't want you to be concerned that I'm going to kind of give you a little switch in bait price and terms. I want you to know that it's consistent funding at all times so that you can rely on being able to acquire more properties and know that it's the same interest rate, same points, same program, no discrimination of whatever community it's in. Our goal is really to be able to, as I said, revitalize our communities. We want to go a little bit further than just fix and flipping and take our money and go out. We are affecting, like I mentioned, the economy. We're getting higher school base. We're getting more property taxes. So the community and the mayor and the city council members should be happy that we're going into their community and rehabbing these projects. And not have to feel that we're just taking something out, but we're giving something back to the community. And we want to give a good product. So I don't want to have an excuse that if you're rehabbing a project and you have a budget of $50,000 and you think, if I had 60, I could really do a better product. If the numbers are there, you'll be able to borrow the money from me, so give a better product and have a better reputation so that the agents that are reselling your properties are happy to resell them again and say, you know what, gee, you have a good product. Oh, I'm happy to resell it. That family who bought this home didn't have any complaints that your construction was Mickey Mouse, that it broke down after you sold the building. So I really want to provide a minimum amount of excuses to have the funding for you to acquire more properties, give a better product to the community, and the community itself will be able to give back, having more taxes for whatever it is that they're doing in the community. So that's why I mentioned my relationships with city council members was stronger because I actually had them call me and say, Raul, we're going to demo this property. This was like in South LA. We're going to demo this property, and is there anything you can do? And I said, yes, absolutely. In fact, the whole property that we had, that we actually stopped the bulldozer literally about 2 hours before they were going to demolish the property. And we were able to get the city council member to come in, we stopped it, my crews were able to come in and we rehabbed it and we preserved that house from being demolished. So there are, believe it or not, communities like that all around. Ontario, LA, it doesn't have to be the inner city. Of course, there's more older houses in Pasadena, inner city, that have been around, for 80, 90 years, so they need more refurbishment. But there's that all over Montclair, just different communities. So the important thing is to be able to have this exit strategy to be able to resell the property, but have the money to go in and really do a good job. Whatever it is that you could be doing, adding on, rehabbing, extending, whatever it may be, not have an excuse that you don't have the proper funds to rehab the building and have a good market to resell them back in.
Because we came a couple minutes late from lunch, so what determines the loan is basically, is it equity based and is it FICO driven, or what determines if you actually loan the money or not?
Yeah, so it's equity-based. We prefer that you have 3 flips experience. We're not really interested in those that are watching TV at 2 in the morning and think they can do money down deal. If they have no experience, it's 20%, but typically most, rehabbers have had at least 3 flips experience, so it's 15% down. It's 12 months, interest only, no prepayment penalty, and there's no prepaid interest charge on the actual loan. It's 30 days after you close escrow. FICO score, I'm sorry, typically it's minimum of 600.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
great.
and, we've dealt with experienced investors and developers that have actually filed bankruptcies, and have foreclosures, but that was 7 or 8 years ago. So as long as we have an explanation, we understood that market turned down occurred. So we'll still lend to them, but that was because of that market turnaround, not because they have a recent bankruptcy in the last year. So that's still okay for us.
Do you fund for mobile homes at all?
No, we don't. It's gonna be a foundation. Even, I know, kind of manufacturing.
What if it's, the land is coded and it's on,
It's still,
acre with a.
yeah, it still needs to be in a conventional foundation.
But you can take the mobile home off and build a property on it.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could. So if you came with the plans, that's some of our investors, they've got income while they're waiting for plans to be approved, and maybe they're gonna build 3 or 4 houses, and they come to us with plans. Not even that the plans have to be approved that moment, they could be like 30 days or 60 days from being approved. We could get the loan approved on that, and we could actually lend on the land itself.
Right.
Versus, and I'll just explain that a little bit. Most of the lenders will give you a loan of maybe 30 to 40% on what you paid for the land at the time you bought the land. So some people have owned the land, let's say a year, because they're waiting for permits to get approved. Maybe they bought it for $100,000. But today, now that they have the plans approved, that land may be worth $200,000. We will lend 60% of the land that it's worth today at $200,000, and we will reimburse soft costs like architecture fees, permits, and so forth, and we'll go up to 70% of the ARV.
Okay.
So that's, again, very aggressive. Oh, and the most important thing, 100% of the new construction costs.
Where have you been all my life?
That's what I'm hearing. That's
I
what,
needed you like 4 years
I
ago.
know. But Linda said, Raul, don't lose out, you gotta be here, so what I'm doing, I'm having the pleasure, and I said, it is a difference from being an investor than is doing, loans, but, my whole objective is to share the wealth that I have in this credit line so that everyone else can use it. It's not a kept secret, just to hold on to ourselves. A lot of investors do that. So I'm here, and not like you're gonna call me and say, well, Raul, I got this loan, I'm gonna say, oh, sorry, I ran out of money. And that's what happened to the time. No, but I can lend it to you at this rate in this term. That won't exist with me. It's gonna be available because I have a $100 million line of credit available. So, and most investors, when they pay off the loans, it's gonna be done in 3, 4, 6 months, and the money gets replenished. So it just keeps going in and out. So
what is the interest rate?
so we're at 9.5%, and we're at 2.5 points. So like I said, when I was in business, I was paying 15 points, 15% interest rate. That was hard money. So to me, I say this is soft money. I mean, conventional loans are 1 and 2 points, depending. So 2.5 points. On a very leveraged, and we're above 100% LTV, because when we add the rehab, we could be up to 120% loan to value. So we have a tremendous amount of risk. That's why we want to make sure that you have the experience. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you guys deal with the maybe fix and holds where you fix it up, but instead of selling it, then you hold it and probably refinance later?
Yes, so we can do a number of things. Either 2-part. You can either develop, like say, rehab the project, we refinance it because you have equity. So then we could do a takeout loan for, perhaps 5 years, depending on the criteria, we can go a little longer. But we can refinance and take that bridge loan out and then just have you hold it. Any other questions? One of the main things I like to explain is that we are very transparent in our funding. If you like to look at, like the deals we brought up there before, the important thing is to know that you have a lender who's experienced as an investor first. 2, that the money is available at all times. The program is not going to be switched and baited, because it's to our convenience. And that you have the experience for us to be able to help you with transactions. You can always call me and say, Raul, here's the transaction I have. This is the purchase price, this is the rehab, this is the ARV. Does it fit our program? And I can go over that when you say, yes, it does. And if it doesn't, you go ahead and proceed with that offer. Also, the other way is if you have an LLC or a corporation set up, the idea is to get kind of pre-qual with us, give us the documentation we need. we review, we say, yes, you're ready to go, so that then we can give you a line of credit letter and go present offers to the realtors or to your owners. And if they call us and they say, you know, can I verify? I've had some very sophisticated agents and owners say, you know, Raul, do you know this person? Do they qualify? Is that money available? And I say, yeah, absolutely. Let me give you a background of the funding I do and the ability that I have to fund. And that has convinced a lot of sellers or agents to accept your offers based on the communication they receive from me, because they felt comfortable to know I know what I'm doing. And with those references, it actually helps you get your offers accepted. And so that way, you know, it enables you to get more transactions, you know, approved. So it's not just getting you a loan, but like I say, there's a lot of things that you can't really put a thumb to and try to help you put your deals together and help, you know, the agents who are calling to verify if your funds are available and you can close the transaction. The worst thing for them is to open up an escrow with you for 2 weeks. You can't perform, you don't have a lender that can close a deal, and then they're upset, and then they put someone else in escrow, and it just continues on. If they're representing a bank, it looks bad on them. If they're representing sellers who give them business, it looks bad on them. So everybody nowadays wants to make sure you can close and perform on the transaction, and that's what I'm here to help you, so that you have the backup and being able to show you got the money and you got the experience. So that's really an added bonus to it.
Excellent.
More questions? I have a booth here, so my flyers, my business cards are there in the front, and anytime you have any questions, you know, just give us a call. My office will be able to assist.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raul.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Really appreciate the funding. As you can see, we need it, right? And we will be in contact.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've got Jeremy Rubin, the friendly flipper, and Jeremy is going to more than likely come up here and plug his laptop in. We might need a special connection, so if you guys want to take just a quick break, we'll get you back in here. Do you have a connector?